So here it is, the 2016 Range Rover Evoque. And even though it's littered with Range Rover badges and has amazing off-road technology, it doesn't look especially robust or tough. Over the years it's been out, since 2012, it was considered as one of them luxury lifestyle SUVs that the female gender lusted after, but surely it can just be more than a piece of eye candy. Here's my review. But first off, I want to give a shout out to the owner of this car, Berthin, for lending it me for half the day so I could do this review. Like usual, if you have any questions on Range Rover Evoque ownership, make sure to leave your questions in the comment section down below and I will get back to you. This is also Berthin's second car. Her first car was the VW Polo and that was featured on my channel a while back. So if you'd like to view that video, you can do by clicking on that pop-up banner up there. Anyway, now let's discuss what the Evoque has to offer, and the version behind me is the facelifted car on the previous generation, and they still get the same modernised, distinctive design that's been working so well, but Land Rover have made some minor tweaks. For example, you got a new set of LED headlights front and back. However, on this Evoque it actually has the optional extra upgraded LED headlights, which I think look fantastic, and it's something you don't see that often. In front you got a new bumper design and these rather eye-catching vents on the bonnet, and the biggest change of them all is that you are now able to go for a new 2-litre diesel engine instead of going for the Ford-derived 2.2 diesel, which was less efficient, and it was a Ford engine in a Range Rover. That was weird. As for changes on the interior on the facelifted version, it was very minimal and your average Evoque buyer really won't notice them, but you now got new door cards with an armrest and a clearer instrument binnacle with crisper dials. The model variant I'm reviewing today is the Evoque HSE Dynamic TD4, so that means it's a 4-wheel drive version, and as mentioned, under the bonnet it has the 2-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged diesel, and that makes roughly 178 brake horsepower and 317 pounds-foot of torque. It takes 9.1 seconds to get up to 60 miles per hour, and it tops out at 124 miles per hour, so it's moderate, nothing really quick, but it's not a performance vehicle and who really cares? And it weighs a massive 1.7 tons. Right, moving on to things I don't like about this car, here's why. First item on the list are these alloys. Luckily this car does have a decent specification, so you get 21-inch alloy wheels, but on lesser variants you get some really shoddy wheel designs. Also the colour on this, it just doesn't look polished enough, it looks like it's on the cheapest side. Also the hood caps as well with the Land Rover badge on them, it looks like it's faded in with the rest of the alloy, but it's not, it's normal like that. Yeah, poor design from Land Rover. Moving on to my next issue, and it's just slightly further up, and it's this panel gap between the bonnet and the front fender. Now you've got no gap here, but as soon as you reach the bonnet and the front fender, you've got this massive gap in between. Now I could imagine that could annoy someone with OCD. And my final issue, we have to jump into the rear seats for this, and it's due to the lack of space that you get in the back. Now this is probably due to the coupe styling that the Evoque has, although it has Freelander underpinnings. But in this car, luckily, you get a fixed sunroof, so it helps give it that airy feel. So it's not too bad. But overall, it is a very well put together car. At the time, this was released in 2012 and displayed at Geneva the year before. Land Rover managed to shift 50,000 units of these in a single year. In addition, they had a massive 60,000 units on back order. Now that's pretty incredible. Let's move over to the boot, and I believe in this Range Rover Evoque you get approximately 420 litres of boot space. Now I believe its competitors does have a little bit more, but I'll be honest, there's a lot you can fit in here. I mean, depends on the type of person you are. Maybe go for something a little bit bigger like a Discovery Sport if you are going to lug around items on a regular. There is a slight design fault on the boot latch of this Range Rover Evoque though, and that is every time you go to close the boot, this plastic piece here catches onto the latch. However, it catches on too closely and it leaves a massive scuff on the plastic piece, as you can see there. Now I'm not too sure if the boot's been aligned properly or if this is a common issue in general with Evoques. When entering the car, you've got yourself some very heavy doors, and check this out, on the kick plates it says Range Rover on them. Now these light up blue at night, I must admit, they do look pretty cool. Overall in the cabin though, it's very pleasant in here. The quality is superb. What I really like though is this gear selector in this car. When you turn the car on, it comes out of its little home, and then vice versa when you turn the car off, and it disappears and merges in with the center console. Technology wise, it has a handy reversing camera that puts up useful icons to let you know if you're about to hit something. It lets you choose what scenario you're driving in, including snow, gravel, sand, etc. It also has the classic previous Range Rover infotainment system, which I must say is now considered hugely outdated, but you can link up your phone via Bluetooth, so it could be worse. If you delve deeper into the infotainment system, there should be a secret hidden menu, and the way to access it is you have to hold down the valet button for 40 seconds, and then after this you should be able to see a bunch of different settings and a Jaguar logo at the top right. Moving over to the glove box, and if you start touching the roof of the glove box, you should be able to click a button, and that should give you an extra piece of storage. Now I assume this is for the service book, but how many Range Rover Evoque owners do you reckon know about that little extra bit of storage? Probably none. A few things that I'm not a fan of in the interior of this car, and one of them is the rear view visibility, because it's compromised and there's not much you can see out of it, so visibility is really poor. In addition, I don't like this steering wheel. I think there's way too many buttons on it. I'm glad they fixed it with the new generation with all those haptic feedback buttons, as it was really necessary, to be honest. Another thing that's not so good in this car is the ambient lighting. Now, although you get a range of colors to choose from an outsider's perspective, you wouldn't think there's any ambient lighting at all. Now, I personally think a lot of owners complained about this and they fixed it for the newer generation. As someone who could be potentially buying an Evoque, you could get anxiety in terms of thinking the car is too wide or too big for just general use. So what I'm going to do is try park this car into this parking bay here and see if it fits in a British parking bay, or are you going to have to double park? Yeah, that wasn't too bad. Now it is a wide car, I must admit. You do have a lot of, it's not lengthy, but it's a wide car, and it would be probably really hard to get out of that gap if, well, get out your car if someone parked right next to you. So it's one of them ones. Anyway, now that's over, I think it's time we went for a drive. So now let's go for a drive, and driving this car immediately feels different to any other Range Rover product on the market. Just saw a Range Rover Evoque convertible drive past. What are the chances? Those cars are really highly priced. I think I saw one go in for around £40,000. That's just ridiculous. It has somewhat light steering thanks to the torque vectoring system, which transfers power to the wheel that can most effectively use it. It's no sports hatchback or supercar, but it's all right. But the main focal point for the sale of this car is its design. But there's just one problem, and that is the fact it's so bloody expensive. A base Evoque starts from £32,000, and then when you start adding on the options, you could get an Evoque for 40 grand. That's just ridiculous from new. This car is obviously used. It's about 6 odd years now, 5 odd years old, but it's still expensive. You could pick one of these up for anything between 20 to 30 grand. This one's done around 50,000 miles on the clock. So I would assume it's anything between the 25 grand mark. If you're just gonna drive it around town and whatnot, which I'll admit many Range Rover owners do, I would go for the black pack, and that adds black alloys, black badges, black roof. Looks a little bit nicer, but it's, once again, it's bloody expensive. It's 2 to 3 grand as an option, and it does show through prices on Auto Trader. Forgot to mention the mirrors on the main half of the review, and they are probably the same size as the ones that you'd find on the Range Rover Sport and Vogue. so they are quite big. They also do a nice little dip down when you put the car into reverse. Helps you out when maneuvering around curbs. You don't want to curb your alloys. This car's got 21-inch alloys, so it's inevitable. Also, right underneath the mirror casing, you should be able to find a light, and that is a puddle light. And at night, when you turn the car on, you get a nice Land Rover logo right next to the front doors. The suspension though, it is extremely tough. Every time I go over like a little bump, I could literally feel it. Even though this car is a proper wafter, it's not good over bumps. So in terms of the gearbox, we've got the 9-speed automatic gearbox in this car. And I'll admit, it's a lot of gears for this car. It's unnecessary. Maybe something like a 6-speed would be enough. But with the power this has, you don't need a 9-speed automatic gearbox. Since we've got it in sports mode, let's just test the acceleration. I mean, there isn't going to be any. But we'll just get on to national speed limit in a second, and I'll put my foot down a little bit, see what it can do. Not too sure it could do much, but why not try, eh? Right, third gear, 3,000 RPM, foot down. Yeah, okay, it's alright. It's alright. Now, this would be good at roll races. Since it's got so much low-end torque, it'd blow anything out of the park with 30 rolls, 40 rolls, but from standstill, this car's getting smoked. Put it that way. Now, how's it overtaking? We've got a Kia Picanto in front of us that's driving like a granny. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. It's alright. Now, this is a bit of a killer for you guys, but since it's a diesel, usually you would think you'd be getting high 40s, early 50 mpg, miles per gallon. This car though, from its 54 litre fuel tank, we are getting 35 miles per gallon. That's shocking. And don't forget, it's actually pretty expensive to fill up nowadays. I'll probably say this cost you about 70, 80 pounds to give it a full tank. Well, probably 100 quid now due to the fuel prices going up so much. Yeah, really disappointed. It does give you eco data in terms of what you've done throughout the week and stuff like that on the infotainment system, but still, that doesn't change the fact that this is only getting 36 miles per gallon. One thing I do love in Range Rovers as well is the fact that you get some, at night even, you get some side lights that turn on to just ease that maneuverability. So it does help out at night hugely. And also another thing that I love is the coat hangers they're hidden. One thing you notice as well, if you go onto the 4x4 little information screen, is it switches from 2-wheel drive to 4-wheel drive, randomly. I'm not too sure this is for fuel saving or whatever, but I think it's quite cool. Start stop, pretty freaking annoying. I wish no cars had start stop. These flappy paddles, they're like the cheapest thing on earth. Can you hear that? Why, Land Rover? Why on earth have you done that? Now that's disappointed. Paddles, why do a lot of manufacturers have been cheaping out on paddles? And it's really obvious. It's the main thing you touch. Your hands are always there. So why? Insurance as well, guys. It's going to be expensive. It's not going to be cheap. It's a Range Rover at the end of the day. And since it's got that name and they get stolen a lot, yeah, expect insurance prices to be really high. Account for it even when you are going to buy one of these cars. I then got bored driving on B roads and somehow managed to find myself down a rocky gravel road, which was great because now the Evoque can show me what it's really made of. Right, modern Gruts mode on, handbrake off, hill descent mode on because we're on a hill, and off we go. Oh wow, that's fantastic. The hill descent mode is working as well. I'm not pressing the brake at all. What an off-roader. Now there are some rocks on this road. It's a little bit, grutty. I wouldn't say it's overly bad. Probably a normal car could get over this. maybe scraping underneath. Yeah, the articulation is perfect. It's so comfortable. You don't even realize any of the bumps. This car is extremely capable off-road without a doubt. Underneath actually has a plate to protect its transmission, so even if you hit something, it doesn't even matter because it's protected. Yeah, this car belongs here. Doesn't belong on the roads. Yeah, way better off-road than it is on-road, put it that way. Look at that, I don't feel anything. That was a massive dip as well. That was probably the biggest dip on this stretch, and nothing. And there we go, that's it. I wouldn't even consider that as off-roading, put it that way. Anyway, look, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure to like, do subscribe, and I'll catch you in my next review. See you in a bit.